Okay, you're on.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting of the DeSoto Area School District, Monday, August 17th, 2020 at 7:05 PM in the Middle High School LMC. Roll call, please. Gary.
Jess Boardman.
Yes.
Gary Hutchins, Kirk Holiday. Brent Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Jeff Long.
Yes.
Rick Pedretti.
Yes.
Dara Springler. Ryan Bender.
Yes.
And Kevin Walliser.
Yes. Proof of giving public notice, please, Lindsay.
The meeting was publicized by posting on the school doors, banks, and post offices in DeSoto, Ferryville, Genoa, and Stoddard, Pronto in DeSoto, Ferryville Cheese Store in Ferryville, and Red Mound Store on August 14th, 2020, printed in the broadcaster on the same date, and broadcast over WVRQ radio.
Okay, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
No.
Okay, then I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Make that motion.
Motion by Jess,
I'll second.
seconded by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Were there any public comments that were submitted?
We did not receive any public comments by the deadline at 3:30 today.
So with that, we'll move on to committee and other reports.
The Personnel and Finance Committee met today on August 17th to review the Building and Grounds Long-Range Plan, the old gym air handler concerns, carpeting for Prairie View High School classroom flooring, which could be carpeting or tile, HVAC automation update, boiler water system update, Employee Handbook Part 2, teacher and substitute new hires, and the 2019-20 budget adjustment and fund balance report.
Any questions on that, anybody? If not, we'll move right on to business, and that's approval of receipts and expenditures.
I did not receive any questions yet. I don't know if any member of the board has one right now.
For the Vernon County Health Department on those licenses, what is, I don't know if you know, item,
Stoddard license, Vernon County Health Department. I am not sure what those are. I don't know if Guy or Mrs. Moline may know why we have a Vernon County Health Department Stoddard or Prairie View license.
it's number 48724. There's three of them, you know.
There's a license for Prairie View, Stoddard, or Middle School, High School. It's a district account. 941 is some type of a due or a fee. We will check into that and report back to the board, and can report back to at next month's meeting to the public as well.
If there are no other questions, I'd ask for a motion to approve the receipts and expenditures. Motion by Ryan. Seconded by Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, approval of minutes dated 7/20/20. There's two little typos. I'll just show to Lindsay. They're just right here. Coach, right here. This should say in this morning reported that it has been, not his has been, it has been.
Okay.
There's just two little
Little editorial, one is a plural when it should have been a singular, and one is just kind of a reversal on words.
Other than that, looks good.
Does none of those change the
No.
meaning of the document.
So we need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jess, seconded by Jeff. All those in favor? Motion opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. You able to hear us good, Darius?
Yes, I hear you fine.
Great, okay. Okay, then resignations, hiring, transfers, and approval of volunteers.
Lucas Gilman, who's a high school English teacher and has coached for us as well, accepted a position in another school district on July 31st. And so I bring forward to you the formalization of the resignation, which I had to accept so that he could accept his new position. We thank Lucas for his work with our district. He came in and earned his certification as a special education teacher while he was with us, transitioned into the English classroom at the high school level, also did some work with middle school students, character education, assisted in our weight room, coached forensics, coached football, and we appreciate his service to our students and to our district while he was here. And let's see. We are recommending the Stoddard Kindergarten long-term sub. Natalie Elson has combined 5 years of experience at the elementary and middle school level. She recently moved here into the area and wants to sub within her district after her long-time placement is over with us, so she would like to continue to be an active sub for us. And she's being recommended for the Stoddard Kindergarten long-term sub position from November through January by Mr. Fulsang. Replacing Lucas at the high school English position is Megan Mullen. Megan has comes to us with both a bachelor's and a master's degree. She has an English degree and certification licensure in both English and speech communication for grades 6 through 12. She has also been a very active coach and advisor for multiple different activities. Been a pre-algebra teacher, a science teacher, along with being an ACT prep instructor, and has coached volleyball, softball, ski club, and honor medal character club and National Honor Society. She resides in Stoddard, and we are recommending her for the high school English position. Laura Lee Wetter is being recommended by Brian Erkey for the position of middle school volleyball coach. She is a former student and student athlete in our district and wishes to join our staff to help continue to build the successful program. She will be under the guidance and mentorship of Ashley Witesky, who is a teacher in our district at the middle school, high school level with special ed and happens to be the varsity head volleyball coach. Dan Trusoni is being recommended by Brandon Erkey as the assistant football coach. He has numerous years as part of our staff working with our program, and we are excited to have him back and continue the great relationships he has with our student athletes. Nicholas Mooney is also going to move into the assistant football coaching position. He has been a teacher, special education teacher in our district and coach. He also is part of our high school, middle school track team coaching staff as well. And we look forward to him in his new position within the high school football program. And those, I believe, are, let's see, we've got Wiley, Dan, and Nick. Those should be everyone being recommended for accepting Lucas's resignation and the other positions for,
You want that all as one motion?
that would work perfectly.
I just want to ask a question. Like, Ms. Mullen there, their starting salary of 49,000, how much higher is that?
Well, that places her with 20 years of experience.
I realize that, but a long time ago, and maybe since you've been here, we talked about getting the best person with, you know.
The only other two applicants we had for the position were not certified teachers. One of the applicants did withdraw, who was working on their certification. The other person, we're not aware, has even started the process for getting an emergency license at this point and doesn't live within the state.
Okay, so, let's just go back to my question. If we were able to hire somebody out of school, how much of a cost savings would that be?
We would be at 38,769,
Okay, it's not as big as I thought it would be. So.
and the
I'm
position.
fine with it. I'm not picking holes in anything.
The position being vacated was at over 44,000.
Okay, so we're not going up a lot.
We're not going up a lot. And we're gaining experience and 2 certifications in that field.
I'm not opposed to it in any way, but I just.
Right, that's the
Sure.
way we've operated, and that's what we,
But at these different times, we don't get that applicants anymore.
Was Lucas under, did he renew his contract? Or did he have a contract?
he'll have to pay a penalty.
Lucas has to pay it, yes. He
How about
is
for any
aware of his
educational
penalty.
reimbursements? Is there some,
We have notified him of what that would be too. There is a 1.6% of the base teaching contract is what is required to be paid if you resign up to July 31st. It jumps to 3.2%. As of August 1st, we received his letter of resignation on July 31st. And we have also made him aware of the reimbursement for credits that he was paid for, that he had not met his 5-year obligation
Thank you.
after the last payment, so.
Make a motion.
okay, any other questions? If not, Jeff's making a motion that we approve the resignations, transfers, hiring, and approval of volunteers as presented. Jeff Long makes the motion. Who seconded it? Kevin Walliser seconds it. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Any donations?
We do not have any donations at this point, so none to accept this month.
Okay, Fund 80 requests.
Darwin Cumlin, on behalf of the DeSoto Little League, is requesting $2,000 to support their equipment needs for summer softball and baseball programs.
That's what we pretty much do annually, right?
This is annually the average contribution that we make toward the Little League. And then we have some information, I
Yep.
believe.
The Retreat Sportsman's Club, they had previously been approved for $5,000 to revamp their clay pigeon shooting facility. And they wanted to make us aware that they ran into problems, so that they can't have 2, you have a sheet here. They can't have 2 houses, but they're only having 1. But they want you to see how much money they're spending, and just wanted us to be aware that this was happening, so that when it was all done, their shot was going off on the neighbor's property, and they couldn't get permission to have that happen. But they're doing a heck of a job up there. It's going to be really fancy. It's going to be really nice, and it's going to meet all the the ADA. It's going to meet all the specs, so that you can have legal competition shoots up there. So when our kids shoot up there, their scores, other teams could be there and could shoot, and their scores would count, and it'd be official, because the setup is going to be official. But you can see they've got like 13, 24, 25,000 spent, and they figure the project's still going to be a $30,000 to $32,000 project, and wanted us aware of it. So as long as they weren't any surprises, they wanted to be up front. So everybody all right with that?
Yep.
That was good. Then we need a motion then to approve the Fund 80 request for the Stoddard.
And if we would add to that motion to approve the adjustment to the
Sure.
retreat sportsmanship.
Well, we don't have an adjustment, just
It's
that
not a dollar amount.
yeah, that we approve that make a motion that we're comfortable with the changes they've made in their plan. Okay, so who's making a motion?
I saw.
A motion by Kevin Walliser, seconded by Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we've got the next item is our bids.
In your packet, you should see that we did receive bread bid from Bimbo Bakeries. And as I think, I don't know if Betsy is able to speak to this at all. We also have the milk bid that came in, and Jackie did solicit trying to get bids from Quick Trip. Quick Trip does not deliver directly to schools. And so that is one prohibiting factor in working with them in order to be a supplier. I don't know, Dwayne, is Betsy available to join us?
Have her unmute her mic.
You're
I'm
Betsy?
here.
Okay.
Hi, Betsy.
Yep. So do you have any questions about the bids at all, or?
It's fun to see the annual bids that you give us in documents, so that just thought I'd tell you that. I enjoy seeing those.
Yes.
It'd be interesting to ask Quick Trip what they would charge, if they were to drop it off at the store there, and what the shelf life is. Just, probably not cost saving whatsoever. It's probably going to be way higher than what we get. Kevin?
I think by the time we figure staffing to transport those,
Yeah.
cartons of
Probably.
milk to the different schools, it would be, more expensive. So,
I've been through the Quick Trip plant and they do not do the cartons.
Right.
And
yeah,
that's,
they're little plastic.
it's 11 or 14 cents for a bottle.
Mhm.
That's way more than, and, I mean,
They can't compete.
right, the container cost
Yeah.
is the killing factor. If you would go to glasses or something, and,
Then it'd probably be a different story.
yeah.
Mhm.
Are we going to, I suppose, do these one at a time?
Let's see, the motion is
Yeah.
for, yes, separate. Bimbo Bakery would be separate, and then Prairie Farms would be separate.
So
I make a motion.
I don't know why I did the milk bid first. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So Jess makes a motion that we accept this milk bid from Prairie Farms. Brent will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so next is our bread bid. I'm out of order, but at any rate.
There's not a lot of alternatives.
No. No.
I make a motion to approve it.
I second it.
Motion by Jess and seconded by Kevin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is our LP fuel bid.
So again, we did solicit bids, and we had several bids that did come in. I don't know, Guy, if you're able to or interested in speaking to the different bids that we received. Or if you don't have it in front of you, I can share out.
Yeah, that'd be good, Lindsay. I don't have it right here in front of me.
Okay, well, if we look at the different bids, we have AgVantage FS, who is our current vendor, and they are priced out at 87 cents. Allied Cooperative is at 89 cents. Our 2019 bid for informational purposes is AgVantage was at $1.10 per gallon. And the 2018 bid was $1.07 per gallon. The 2017 bid from AgVantage, 91 cents.
That's good.
2016, that's enough.
That's far enough.
So AgVantage has been our primary vendor for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
They're the
And
lowest.
they remain the lowest bid.
I think some of that's to do with the equipment that they have to put in place.
Sure, they want to maintain.
Well, if the supplier changes out, they gotta figure the cost of exchange.
They just repainted all of the LP tanks out back of the middle school, high school guy. I don't know if they did that at the other elementaries too. You're nodding your head.
Sometimes we solicit 3-year bids, and at least, a couple times we went long-term with people that,
Too volatile now. They won't touch it.
okay, yeah, we have.
It's gonna get worse when we keep making electricity with natural gas and LP gas. I so move that we accept the one.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Kevin and seconded by Jeff Long. All those in favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries. It sounds like you're a little disgruntled over there, Darius, but
No,
I keep
I'm
wondering
just
who's
trying to voice my
Snorkeling. I
opinion.
think he's snorkeling.
you're a little bit of lag time, and it always sounds like you're voting against. But that's all right. We get it.
Am I coming in through too loud?
No, you're loud and clear. You're just fine. It's just a little lag time. It's like 2 seconds behind. So every time I say who's opposed, you always say aye.
Like your main door.
Well, I missed a couple seconds.
All right. Anyway, next is our general insurance.
The board has a packet prepared by Derek Peterson. It covers our property insurance, equipment, general liability, educators liability coverage, our different limited commercial, crime, business auto, and workers' compensation. And in addition to all of this, I did hand out commercial umbrella and our premium subrate. I did hand out a highlight sheet of information. 34,813,528,000 is what our building and contents are valued at. There's a $2,500 deductible. We increased in value of our property and contents by $1,013,989 due to inflation. So in a good way, the investment in all our facilities is increasing in value. But that means that we're going to pay a little more for insurance, maybe. We do have that $1 million flood insurance policy. I ask about that every year. There is a $10,000 deductible if the field were ever to be flooded again and needed repair work. We have a $1 million general liability policy, a $1 million educator legal with full prior acts policy. $150,000 crime policy includes employee theft and computer fund transfer fraud. We have $1 million auto liability, including full replacement costs of buses 5 years and newer. But we don't own any of our buses, so that should not apply to us. Workman's comp has a 0.76 experience mod, resulting in an $8,059 savings. We reduced our workman comp claims this last year, and so we received that as a reimbursement. 32% flat is a guaranteed dividend that we have on that. We have a $5 million umbrella policy. Last year's annual premium was $75,561. Our renewal, because we aren't drawing down on any of our insurance, is less at $65,706. So we have a net savings of $9,945 that we will be expending less for insurance coverage than we had to last year. So that's another good news. So along with the workman comp reimbursement of $8,000, we are underspending $9,945. The only increase in the premium was property due to increased building and contents value. The other line items were very small increases or actually lesser amounts to get us that savings. There is optional cyber coverage. We have not elected that in the past based on Mr. Grunning's recommendation, and I shared that out with you. It is a limit, $500,000 limit. The cost for that is $1,931.25 annually. If we want to up it to $1 million limit, it's $2,472 annually. Derek Peterson does recommend that we consider purchasing that because as their insurance company is seeing an increase in cyber crimes within schools, and they insure a lot of schools. So that, we can defer to Mr. Grunning again for his thoughts on this and what we have in place there. But we are, as a courtesy, bringing it before the board to consider.
What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Grunning?
And if we're gonna do it, it's just for liability, that might be worth it, just in case something does happen and it pulls some of our staff members' credit history and things like that. As far as helping us recover anything, they're not gonna be able to help us at all. It will just be sheer liability. And it would only be, we don't put in social security numbers or any kind of information for any of our students, even though a lot of schools do. I was shocked. But we do have in Skyward, we have all of our staff members' social security numbers are in there to be able to print out their W-2s and some banking information that got hacked. So some schools that have gotten hacked had to pay them to have annual credit reports done to make sure that there was nothing going on. So at this point, the only reason we would purchase it would be as a liability policy.
So it doesn't cover any of all the grief you had for the last breach?
I don't think they do. They're going to bring in people that can't do any more than we can do because they don't know the system. They don't know where the backups are. We've got everything backed up pretty well.
But if you didn't, they won't cover.
They won't pay me.
If you needed to hire
The ransomware.
professional help to help you, they wouldn't. Not that you would, but
Yeah,
I mean, over time, if you
it'd
put,
be interesting to see because a couple of the schools got hit really, really hard, way worse than us.
I mean,
They brought in FBI and Department of Justice and a whole mess of people, and they had people that came in to try to recover their school. So I don't know if it paid for any of that or not.
you put in hours above and beyond,
Oh, sure.
I mean, a person, so
Yeah.
I don't know if insurance would cover, something like that, or the extra hours or the extra help, or, you could argue that you had somebody help you during that time above and more than you maybe would have, and
I don't know.
I don't know if
that's
insurance
covered.
would
Yeah.
cover something like that or not.
I don't know either.
It says it includes transfer, fraud, extortion, IT security and forensics costs, legal and regulatory costs, privacy breach, telephone hacking, regulatory fines, theft or personal funds, etc. I could certainly check on that. We're a small school district, so I just don't know if we need, $1 million worth of limit.
Well, even at 500,000, you're looking at $1,900 for the
Yeah.
premium and $2,500 deductible. You're into it for $4,300 before you get a penny. So
Right. And we're not going to pay the ransom. That's everybody I talk to says that's the worst thing you can do.
They'll just come back at you because I know you'll
sure.
pay it. And often they don't release the
50%
information
of the
back
time they
anyways.
don't. You send them the money, they don't do anything. And up to 50% that do send the codes, only 50% of those actually work. So you've got a 1 in 25% chance that, it would even help you keep the money.
so you're suggesting probably not spend.
It would only be as if we're worried about liability for credit reports and stuff if some of our staff members' information was compromised. That would be the only thing that we would do it for.
Because there
Okay.
certainly would be cause for protection of their privacy.
Yeah, some
And
of the
then,
schools had to pay to have their credit reports pulled every so many months, just to make sure. Of course, I don't know what that costs anyway, so maybe, I don't know what it costs in a group, you know, our size.
$35 a month.
I don't know what it costs to pull a credit report.
$22 usually.
Well, we wouldn't necessarily
We
have
pay
to
$22
vote on that at this
for one.
meeting. We could get some more
$22 per
information
staff member.
and just bring that section
You gotta
back
do it
to.
for
So,
a year. I think.
we're gonna- We're
Can
gonna,
you hack in
I think you do. I think
think
you
it's
do
for
it
a
like
year.
every month.
for a year.
we're gonna get a little more information on that.
But that's
We can always-
each poll.
we can always add it.
Either one of the fees are within my ability to approve. So if we got the additional information and I reviewed it with Mr. Grunning, would the board be comfortable in me making a decision if we felt timeliness was crucial between now and the next board meeting? And if we're not concerned, I could bring it forward to the next board meeting.
I say we're not concerned.
Yeah.
Then bring it to the next board meeting if
All right.
you're concerned.
I'll bring any
Okay.
additional information to the next board meeting.
Okay, so any questions on the rest of the policy? Do we have as many vehicles, Guy? Are we up to 17 vehicles, or would there be some that could come off? Or I see we took some off, so it's hard to believe we have that many, but we may well have.
Yeah, I do believe that list got updated. I can go through it again just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure that should be a current list.
Okay.
We were required to provide an updated list.
You know, they talk about data compromise. What's that, Dwayne, when they say, you know, data compromise?
Well, and that is actually what ransomware is. The data was compromised. If I hadn't had backups, we'd have been in big trouble.
So we have some insurance for that already.
No, we don't.
Well, it's under commercial property coverage, data compromise, $100,000, $1,000 deductible.
I don't know what the difference is then.
Okay. It even has response expenses, responses expenses, I don't know, maybe that's a typo, but then defense liability. So,
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of response expenses because I'm salaried, so.
If you want to take other
Put this
items,
section down.
I got his cell phone number and I could call him while you hold off on approving this one, and then we
Well-
can get some questions answered.
I think we can wait till the next, hopefully we can wait a month on it.
Well, I didn't know if you had any other questions in the document.
Well, does anybody else have any other questions on, no, that wasn't, I'm happy we have that in there. I'm just saying, why would we need the other one if we have that?
Might be a different kind of data. Don't know.
I don't know. Does anybody else have any questions?
We need a motion on it.
I was asking if we bid this,
We have not bid out because the
get
working
lower.
relationship we have with them has been so good for our district. And that Derek continually, he's bidding out different companies to build our plan.
Sure.
So, that he would be doing the same as
Right.
anyone else. And then we have the 2 cost savings and the working relationship that is our advantage. I doubt we could get anyone else that could do any better with the cost savings, and we don't want to give up that
Well, that's-
rebate that we get on workman's
there's a-
comp when we have a good year.
Well, it's a good answer that they're already bidding.
Right. They're doing bidding.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so we need motion to accept the insurance as presented.
I'll make that one.
Motion by Jeff Long, seconded by Ryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
There goes Darius.
There we go. Somebody else is getting some town noise too.
He does sound like he's.
So we've got 2019-20 budget adjustments. You handed out a new one, I believe, everybody
Yeah,
has it.
in your folder, you should have a new one. That basically has the same information, but the general fund has been pulled to a separate box on its own.
And you can see pretty quickly that all the columns, what it's just doing is taking from one pot and putting into another to adjust the expenses where they actually
So
occurred.
it equals out.
Yep, it all equals out on both the general fund and the special projects fund 27. And then if you look in there, you'll see that the in the middle box, it shows that our fund balance increased last year by $270,035. But that, don't try to use those other boxes. Don't try to reconcile with the other boxes. The other boxes all cancel out. Some of the things, I have it on some of the places we saved a lot of money last year. We really only had a $3,000 increase in revenue, but there were savings in budgeted salaries of $60,000. There was health insurance savings of
We
$103,000.
switched companies, we went with courts.
Yep, of $103,000. In transportation, because the year was shortened the way it was $56,000. So that is a lot of that 270. There are other smaller ones.
Which we will spend this year.
Yep, we'll have a lot of places for that to go this year. We will certainly have a more expensive year. But anyway, we just need a motion to accept these changes and these adopted budget changes.
I'll make that one.
Yep, motion by Brent, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Gary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So now we have the employee handbook, part 2.
Part 2 covers professional exempt and non-supervisory employees. And we're bringing forth those changes for board consideration. Personnel and Finance did have an opportunity to look at it. In my weekly review, which goes out to all employees, there are offers for employees to participate in any of the review processes, and we welcome that and we encourage that along the way. And so we are prepared to move forward with part 2.
Anybody has any questions on part 2? Ask, otherwise I'd ask for a motion to approve part 2 of the employee handbook.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Gary to approve part 2 of the employee handbook. Second. Seconded by Jess. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our next item then is the Buildings and Grounds Handbook.
It's our long-range plan, and Guy will jump back in and join us. The long-range plan is something that we do. We try to project 5 years out on different projects. That allows for the board, department supervisors to present to the Building and Grounds Committee, the Personnel and Finance Committee, and the school board items for consideration for the maintenance and longevity of our facilities, buildings, and equipment. So Personnel and Finance did review some things tonight, and Guy, if you are prepared to give us the update on the plan, that would be great.
Not really much change as far as, the last time we put this through, we did actually put some dates in there as far as years when we want to try to upgrade things. Pretty much self-explanatory. There's some things that we need to address, of course, right away, and there's other stuff that we can address in a longer period of time.
Right now, our LED lighting upgrade is underway, and so I encourage board members at the end of the meeting to walk into the Commons cafeteria here at DeSoto Middle High School and see the difference that those lights are making in that area. The boiler water system is also underway right now. Correct, Guy?
Yes, the boiler water upgrade started today. They came, they're getting materials and stuff ready, so they'll be working on that the rest of the week as well.
So in our committee meeting, we went over the list a little bit and we chose to make some adjustments. We're going to, as far as well, this would be a new thing, that the board did not yet approve the flooring in lab 4 of the high school special ed room. That's correct, right?
Right, or the
So-
other rooms.
So we're looking at, there's a $4,500 bid for doing that particular room. And that would be for carpet, and the possibility, we're looking at approving that amount, but potentially it would be less if they choose to go tile instead of carpet in that room. And then we decided to do some prioritizing on some of these things, on a few things, and we decided that the Prairie View carpet, that bid was going to jump again, and we decided that that project wasn't as high of priority as a few of the projects on the back page, which include the water softener for the whole water system of the high school, middle school. You know, we're getting a new dishwasher and some of these fixtures. We decided rather than waiting 1 to 2 years, the carpet up at Prairie View is certainly in good enough condition. I went out and walked through it, and I talked to a few people that are there, and we talked to a few people that were there, and we're perfectly comfortable that that carpeting can wait, and we don't need to go with that higher bid.
Did that bid go like 69,000?
The carpet, no, the carpet bid at Prairie View went up to like 45
45.
or 40,
45,000?
46. And then, you know, some of the circulating pumps, and then there's the boiler water treatment for Prairie View and Stoddard, those two things that, you know, if we're ruining heat exchangers, we just decided we'd rather use that 40,000. Well, we're just going to jump to 45,000 towards doing those projects. So
We reprioritized what will help us with maintaining our existing systems, as well as helping us with, you know, energy costs.
the high school classrooms, you know, with the COVID and all this going on, we looked at, rather than the 30,000, we'll probably be spending 15, because we'll be tiling most of those rooms that were in that bid instead. Except for maybe one, probably only one, but even that one probably sounds like Lindsay thought would be chosen to be tile. So between what was going to be allotted for the carpet at Prairie View and the savings on this other flooring, we're going to be pretty close to being able to do those upgrades to our heating and soft water system for the schools. And then Guy also has allotted $2,000 for a washer and dryer, and we have one bid already that's about $1,600 to replace those two with commercial grade washer and dryer. So as far as on the back, Guy, did you have the bids for the water softener and
The water softener, I do have it, but I do not have it on me. I do believe the number that is on our long range plan is a close estimate.
so can we approve those amounts, not to exceed those tonight? Because you would be wanting to get going on those. How soon would you think they'd get going on those? Before our next meeting or not, Guy?
I would honestly say we could table it to our next meeting because I'm pretty sure everybody is busy right now.
Okay, so then we'll have bids on those for the next meeting, but that's our plan right now. But we would like to get the board to approve the not to exceed 4,500 for the lab in the high school special ed, and we won't have to worry about
45.
no, it's 4,500 for the not to exceed 4,500 for lab 4 in the high school special ed room, and the other stuff we already have approved. So
What about the tile for the high school? I didn't know if we had that approved.
It's 15,000.
Yeah,
But we had the carpet approved for it, so
Oh,
we're
okay.
going
It's gonna
to,
be less.
it's gonna be less.
Okay.
Did we approve the high school carpet last board? And I think we just did Prairie View carpet last board meeting.
I think we
Okay,
need
well
to do
then let's
that.
just make sure and let's approve not to exceed the 30 and we know
Yep.
we're gonna do much less.
So to simplify it, the 30,000 would be for carpet for all of the high school rooms that have carpet in there right now. The tile bid was 14 something, which we will be in that threshold. We will not be at the 30,000 mark. We'll be somewhere below that because most of the rooms will be tile.
And we need to add the washer and dryer because that was not approved, right?
Yep.
Right.
Of course, it's 2,000 and Lindsay can do that. But-
So we just like to
Yep.
have things out
Is
there.
everybody clear on what we're doing here? So we're approving the 4,500, we're approving the not to exceed 30,000, and it's probably not gonna exceed 15. And then
The washer and dryer for
the washer and
2,000.
dryer for 2,000.
And then we're gonna hold Guy on the water softeners
Yep.
and the circulating pumps and the boiler treatment until next month.
Yes.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions on all that? No? Okay, Brent's making a motion then that we approve those expenditures. Seconded by Ryan. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
There was an approval item for the flooring, but you felt that was all encompassing in the building and ground, long-range plan, which included those specific items. So we can earmark those items.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the long-range plan is what was presented, and then we pulled out some individual items, but we had single motions for each one of the items that were originally.
Oh, so you're saying in your notes you had single items for each one of those things?
Yeah, and
Well,
so
we-
we just combined
We
it.
just combined them, yep, to
Yeah.
make a motion for those 3 items that we're going to do immediately.
I just wanted to note that because they're listed separately on the agenda
Okay,
as
okay.
individual items. So
Okay.
it was a combined motion for the total plan as well as the individualized items.
Wasn't that HVAC automation gonna be a little bit more too?
Yes, that the HVAC system, building automation system will be, I think he said like maybe $2,000 more. He's coming Wednesday to go through everything. And then if I have to bring that to the next board meeting, if anything drastically changes, I can of course do that.
Okay,
We skipped over the old gym there.
no, that's another item on the agenda,
Yeah,
7.13.
when he gets to that
I
one.
guess when we got to the buildings and ground law.
We jumped ahead.
We did a few of those things, yeah. I see.
So basically what we're looking at is the old gym air handler guide. That one you're still getting information on. So we aren't ready to make a motion on that one tonight, correct?
That is correct.
So
But there is a little good news, maybe.
713 would need to come off and just be deferred to the next month.
Yep.
And then we chose to reprioritize the building and grounds long-range plan, which places the Prairie View carpet then off consideration.
Right.
Primarily because each time that we go to get ready to do the project, it doubles or then increases in cost. And so we needed to defer those costs to other areas. So item 714 would be deferred back to the long-range plan. 715, which was the high school flooring bid, was approved as part of the long-range plan motion that was made, not to exceed $30,000, with about $4,500 for that special education lab 4 room, and most likely going to tile in all the classrooms for cleaning and disinfecting purposes. And so we anticipate that we will be potentially half as much as the allowable amount to not exceed of 30,000. And that was approved as part of the long-range plan. And then the HVAC automation system, Guy just spoke about.
Correct.
So that will be deferred as well. And then we deferred the boiler water system upgrade to the Building and Grounds Committee and the next board meeting. So that should cover each one of those agenda items that we had separated out. But the good thing is that the public is aware of the need to maintain our facilities and that we are prioritizing the work that needs to be done based on cost, based on savings, and based on what is most crucial to maintain our other systems. Would that be a correct way, Guy, of kind of summarizing it?
Yeah, that would be absolutely correct. I just wanted to make sure so we don't get anything mixed up. The boiler water system, that was already approved. They're actually installing that right now.
Okay,
Just so we got that right in our minutes and everything.
Yep.
thank you. It's a circulating water pump system and the water softener system that we're,
Yeah, that would be, yep, that would be the next step. Yep.
thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Okay,
Okay,
so I think that brings us back to the agenda.
all right.
One thing we might have forgotten was that.
Yeah, you might be right, Jeff. You know, back,
Back in the hiring.
back in the hiring of, you know,
Oh, we didn't add him
Mr.
in there.
Garrett.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Well, good catch, Jeff.
We would revert back to our hiring.
We,
So 7.3, one of the individuals who should have been included in that is our elementary guidance counselor. So we are wanting him to be able to provide services to both our elementaries each week. He currently, through the last school year, worked 1 day a week. And so he would be at each elementary building once every other week. We believe the social emotional well-being of our students, especially considering the time away from school and the stress young children and families have been under, that it would be best to have a school counselor at least present at each elementary building 1 day a week. And so we would like to double his service allocation. Last year, he was 1 day a week, alternating weeks at the elementary schools for approximately $7,572. We would double that. The expense would be a little over $15,000 to be able to provide those services 1 day a week at each school building. We also do compensate him for staff development and trainings. And additionally, he's been very good to substitute teach for us at a significantly, at the $120 rate. And he's also served as a coach for us on our coaching staff. I don't know if Mr. Fulsang or Mr. Kelly would like to speak to the work he's done at the elementary level and offer support for having him at least 1 day a week in each of the buildings. You're welcome to jump in.
Well, Mr. Gaylor is a wonderful guidance counselor. He's very dynamic and he has a lot to offer. And highly recommend approving it tonight. He is one of the best out there, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. I appreciate you sharing that. He's also helped us with summer school and done some work that way. And he's working with our middle school, high school counselor, Jenny Rappringer, to develop social emotional activities and lessons for our teachers to implement when students return to school, and looking at ways that those lessons can also be applicable to those students who are either remote learning or learning on our virtual charter school.
any questions? Any further questions?
I'll make that
Jeff's
motion.
making a motion that we add that to our hiring.
To extend it from one
Yep.
to 1 day a week, right?
Yeah, So he'll be 2 days a week, 1 day in each building.
Seconded by Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for catching that,
Yeah.
Jeff.
Thank you.
So now we're to the CNA course approval.
In your packet, you have a request from Ms. Rappinger on behalf of one of our students who is interested in obtaining her CNA certification. That is one of our policies, is to support the cost for that. And so we bring forward that for the school board's consideration.
Where's it going through? Since it's not going through,
It's on there. Another,
it doesn't say.
Yeah.
doesn't want to.
Quality CNA training.
WPC classes are full.
Oh, yeah.
And
I never
we're
heard
not
of
able to
this.
enroll in it, so we had to look at other options. We have law for it.
I've never heard of it. I was just,
So if they do not complete that, we don't pay, right?
Yeah, if they do not complete it, then they have to reimburse us for it.
don't worry, she's smart, real fast.
Knowing this student, I fully expect her to complete it.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jeff Long. Who seconded? Seconded by Kevin Wallace?
Sarah.
Oh, Darius, I'm sorry.
I
Okay,
tried.
Seconded by Deans. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Congratulations, I believe she's watching,
Oh.
or mom is.
All right, yep. All right, our next item is the Act 125 Seclusion and Physical Restraint Report.
That would be Mrs. Moline.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. As part of my requirements here, it has been delegated to me to report out the Wisconsin Act 125, which is due each August as a report to the school board for notifications of students who have had seclusion, physical restraint, in addition to 2 other criteria, which is the number of students that have been involved and any student who has identified with a disability. I'm very pleased to include in there, everyone should have received a copy on your table or in your packet. And I included some information from 2013, 2014 academic year, and then last year's in addition to this current reporting time frame, just to show how much our numbers have decreased over time. So I'm very pleased with that and the amount that our employees have worked hard to de-escalate situations so that students hopefully don't get to a point where they need to either A, be physically restrained or in a seclusion type environment to keep safe not only themselves but maybe others. So we've worked really hard at using CPI, or Crisis Prevention Institute, into the training and ensuring that staff and students are treated with respect and that they have the skills to be able to appropriately respond. So as you can see, I know that this year was a little bit shorter in addition, since students haven't been here since March 16th, but we're very excited with these numbers that have been shared out. So anyone have any questions?
Is it running too much? We're all okay.
So
If there's
you need a
no,
motion to approve that, correct?
yes.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, we need a motion then to approve that report of the Act 125.
Make that motion.
Motion by Jess, second by Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, item 7.20 is the 2021 Cholita agreement.
That is
Yeah.
also Mrs. Moline.
Excellent. Well, I would just like to report out that we've had a great established collaboration with Cholita over the last several years. And in order to best meet the needs of some of our students, they have provided us with a new agreement for the upcoming year. We continue to be informed on what their decisions are as far as keeping students and their staff as safe as possible. Again, all of the information, including their calendar, I have included in here for contact days and so on and so forth for upcoming school year. And they will provide remote services if it's appropriate. They end up back to the virtual remote setting. We were working with them during summer school and they did close. So we'll continue to work closely with them to make sure that our students are receiving the best services possible.
Okay, we need a motion then to approve that agreement. If there's any questions. Okay, motion by Gary, seconded by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is the school-wide Title I plan for Prairie View and Stoddard.
I'm smiling at you again, Mrs. Mullane. You're back up.
All right. Well, as you can find included in your board packet is our plan. I appreciate each one of the staff members collectively reaching out and discussing those that are included in the plan revision, as noted on page 3. We have looked at our goals from last school year and moving forward. Additionally, there are recommendations, and we all unanimously agree that it's going to be best for us to continue with our current goals. Looking at where students' benchmarks come in at when we put them back into our building in the fall and proceeding from there. It was a challenge for us at the end of the school year in order to best ensure that we had met the goals. We know we definitely were getting closer to achieving them. However, we like to pick the plan up from where we left off.
Any questions, anybody? If not, we need a motion to approve this school-wide Title I plan for Prairie View and Stoddard. Motion by Kevin, seconded by Jess. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I would just like to extend my compliments to Mrs. Mullane for her work on the Title I plans. Those are the precursors to what we do in our title programs at both elementary buildings. And as you know, Stoddard received the Title I award last year. Prairie View has received it many times over the years. And this is truly a tribute to Mrs. Mullane's coordination of this very valuable program that provides much needed services to our students, academic services. So thank you, Mrs. Mullane, and congratulations on preparing another school-wide Title I plan for both our elementary schools.
Well, thank you, but it's truly a collaborative effort between parents, students, other administrators, and of course the teachers and staff. So thank you for everyone.
Thank you. Our next item is the Western Technical College HSED option.
We have one of our students who will be finishing up his HSED program at WTC this fall. We anticipate he will have completed that by the end of the semester. If not, he will finish it, I would imagine, for sure by the end of this year. And so he's had great success in that program. We would like to continue to support that opportunity for him and would ask that the school board consider his second year enrollment.
Anybody has any questions? Make a motion, I'll take a motion. Okay, motion by Ryan. A second by Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So our next item is the athletic season review.
Handed out to you this evening was minutes that were taken from today's meeting, Zoom meeting of the Ridge and Valley Athletic Directors. This came in hot off the press right before our board meeting. So middle school football, volleyball, and cross country Athletics are going to not have a decision made about them until the varsity high school sports season is finalized and in play. Volleyball, they discussed how to create a schedule that would allow for a conference championship. So the ADs are proposing a home and away and count both games as conference matches, and that will be approved. Cross country does have a schedule and host courses, and I could defer to a volunteer coach in this room to share information on cross country if you'd like.
Well, most of us here, we were real thrilled today to hear that we have a schedule that's all set, and that this many schools were backing the sport. We're hoping to, like all sports, get something nailed down for our middle school students also. We have a few middle school kids that are going to do a nice job for us, and I think. Ms. Grunion, it hasn't gotten to the mention yet, but.
I'm ready to do it.
Okay.
We cross county lines in different counties have different, they're in different phases or have different limitations. And so because of the schools involved and counties they represent and areas they represent, along with WIA recommendations, right now at all of any volleyball, cross-country, or football game, the essential individuals will be the players, the coaches, potentially media, because they would be a forum for being able to see those events, the athletic trainer, the EMTs in an ambulance or rescue squad for football, and transportation. At this time, all of the events, whether they're cross-country, football, or volleyball, will be closed to fan attendance. Now, Mr. Grunny may wish to speak to the fact that for years, we have broadcast live our games. And so that is something that we can continue to do so that student fans and family are able to watch the games. We certainly hope that down the road, in a few weeks, that could potentially be loosened up and there could be some form of attendance, with the focus being primarily on obviously parents and family, and then extended out to students and the community. But right now, due to the situation with COVID-19, the fan restriction will be in place, and we'll be relying on video and media for the games. Mr. Grunny, anything to add on how many years we've been doing that?
Oh, you covered it.
Okay. I will say some schools don't have that system set up, so they're purchasing that type of coverage and equipment that we've had in place for years. So, anything else that I missed there?
I think you got it all covered. I was going down the little checklist here.
That's a decision by the conference or
Which decision? Which?
full fan?
Yeah.
WIA.
It's a
No,
decision by the
It's a
conference. but
decision by
aligned.
the conference superintendents and EDs. In order to get all schools to buy into, and there are schools that, the school boards are split school boards, and they were, I think it's a compromise so that some of those school boards didn't pull out of the sport altogether. There's still, obviously football's the sport that is the most volatile, perhaps, in the eyes of school boards and everybody else, and there's, there's concern tonight about which schools will stay in and which schools will not stay in, and we'll find that out tomorrow. But I think the message that we need to send as a board that we support our athletes and our coaches and our school in moving forward with fall sports.
Some counties right now have indoor limitations, and so if that fan base were limited for, say, an indoor event to 50 individuals, how would you determine who could come amongst the parents of both the home and away team? So it just seems if our focus is to allow the kids the social, emotional growth opportunities, participation through sports and activities and extracurricular events, then the focus should be on making that happen for them and providing the opportunity for families to view via the live broadcast that we hear in DeSoto. So unfortunately, everyone has a different community health department factor or phase 1 or 2 that impacts attendance. And rather than try to say, well, across this boundary you can't do it, but across this boundary you can have this many, it just made more sense to start easy, ease into this, and then hopefully loosen up those restrictions.
It's not just indoor attendance, size limitations, it's outdoor too. That's why some of the, like middle schoolers going along to cross-country meets, they're still trying to work that out to get it permission for some of that, because you get too many people there for the event, and even though it's an outdoor event. So those are the things we're working on, but do we need a motion to say we're doing that, or do we just?
Well, it certainly wouldn't hurt to add, it's not an agenda item as such as it's more of a report, but if you wanted to offer a motion to support this information as it was presented, we didn't know that we would have something to make a motion on at this meeting, so it was called a review, but we could certainly accept a motion to support the plan that's being brought forward by the Ridge and Valley Conference Athletic Directors.
I think that's a good idea.
I don't think you should, until you get all the sports finalized, I don't think you should make a motion. Football's not finalized yet.
Well, I think that you want to tell them that we are supporting that they're, that our team's going to play fall football, so if they know that. I don't think we're going to pull out. I think.
The following schools are looking to play football this fall: DeSoto, Wazeeka, Highland, Hillsborough, Boscobel, and Weston.
I think it's important that those schools know that we're in and that we're willing to play. They're not going to want to, at this point in the process, I don't think that they want to hear that, okay, well, we got to go back to DeSoto in a month and see if there's, if they're all in for playing football with us.
That would be too late.
Right.
The season technically is starting on September 7th.
I think we want it out there that as a board, we support it. If somebody else pulls out, they're going to make that decision tonight too.
Well, your teams at North Crawford is not typical or Lafarge. They're 9-man football.
Yeah, they're
No.
8-man football, so they wouldn't even be a factor in our consideration.
Right.
So
It's not a matter of who's going to be. We're not making a motion that we're approving those schools that are in. We're just saying we are in. And I think we can say, well, let's approve volleyball and let's say we're supporting our students to play fall football with whatever the schedule is that works out.
So we're all fall sports, you're saying? Or just football?
No.
Fall sports.
All
Yeah, all fall sports. All
right?
fall
That's what I
sports.
thought.
Because
keep in mind the WI rules for all of these are very specific on how athletes have to attend and participate in practice as well as in game scenarios. So there are PPE requirements for some of these sports depending on where they're at, as well as hand sanitizing and physical distancing as it's possible to maintain, feasible to maintain during the practices and events. And so a lot of consideration is going in to make these events as safe as possible. There is no program that can eliminate risk, whether it be to a communicable disease or to injuries that are sustained from participating. There are certainly risks that have to be evaluated and assessed, mitigated by planning, and a decision made by families on participation. We offer the opportunity, but people have the right to choose not to participate.
I think maybe a motion that says we support moving forward with the fall sports as this is presented under the following the guidelines of the WIA, the ADs, and the direction of our local superintendents, which would be a reflection of the school boards. I think everybody wants to know we're in. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, I think it's totally appropriate to indicate that DeSoto would participate in football, volleyball, and cross country, following WA guidelines and the company's rules that are being set forward.
That sound all right? Any questions? Does anybody want to make that motion? So what are we thinking?
I'm not certain how it's all gonna work. You're supposed to wear a mask everywhere, and you're gonna have contact sports.
Well, I think we leave that, the guidelines are set, the WIA guidelines, how they're gonna do all that. I think in volleyball, they are wearing masks in the sport.
And the governor's order doesn't require masks
Right.
for outdoor.
That's my question. I mean, the governor doesn't require masks for outdoor anything, then you don't allow fans at outdoor sporting events.
Well, that's a different, those are different
I
levels
understand
of,
that you're transporting people from here to there, the students are coming, they're exposed to their parents. I mean, I don't know where you draw
Well,
the
this
line.
is a Crawford County issue where they're limiting the number of people that can be at, in attendance. I don't know if Vernon County does or not, but I guess at the end
not
of,
yet.
at the end of the day, is, do you want the kids to have the opportunity to play or not? I mean, we're gonna say
Well, I'm
no.
all for that,
Yeah,
but
well,
there's
that's-
other restrictions on it that are questionable.
At the end of the day, it's gonna be half. And if 6 of the football players come up positive with it, I'm sure it'll be,
Right.
You get one even.
well, I'm just saying.
Even if you get one, if you get a student.
And then again, there's still every parent's choice if their kid
Right.
participates.
At this
or not.
point in the game, we can't, and I agree with you, Jess, we should be able to have a crowd here, but, and that might change as we move forward, but if we want everybody to get a schedule and have it set up and have these kids playing in September,
Well, like I said, I'm all for that. I just think that regulation is,
and that might change, that might,
that's not gonna change.
well, if Crawford County opens up, they're trying to say what we're doing in one side, in Vernon County, we're gonna do in Crawford County, what we're doing in Crawford County, we're gonna do in Vernon County. And right
So
now,
This is Vernon County.
I know, but a lot of the schools on this list are in Crawford County. And not just in football, but in cross country and other sports too. And that's what they're doing. And there is not, it's not that they're gonna stay with that all year long. But if we wanna, I think we wanna support it, we gotta do it. I'm all for it. I think that the precautions are being made for the kids. And, a lot of precautions are being followed.
If I'm reading Jess through his mask, right, he's fine with going forward with the season. He's not fine with not being able to watch his kid or
I'm just saying,
somebody
you have
else's.
here's an example, you have a parent that works they go to work in La Crosse County, they live in Crawford County, I mean, you're not, I understand the
Yeah.
precautions and everything. To me, it's,
Well,
especially with an outdoor event.
I
I
agree.
think the challenge is right now, some of these schools are in a county that is limiting attendance at mass gatherings at outdoor events and limiting mass gatherings at indoor events. And managing that is going to be an extreme challenge for event staff and athletic directors to have a cut line. Okay, you guys can go in and everybody else cannot. Football stadiums typically have multiple entrances or access points where, you know, people could walk in. They're not necessarily as controllable environments as an indoor activity would be. Cross country, virtually impossible to stop people from coming in and going along the course. I think the focus of the athletic directors is try to make something happen for the kids. And the kids are the priority. Right or wrong, the families and the peers and the friends at this time are not. So they're just trying to abide by county rules and regulations and WIA rules in an extremely challenging and difficult situation.
But this boils down to, at the end of the day, this boils down to what school boards are telling their superintendents. You know, there's some school boards that have a few people that are pretty concerned, and there's a few of these schools on here that are saying, you know what, my school board will pass this and they'll go along with it and they'll let us play if we go with some of these restrictions. Whether I'd rather see people there too, but if we want to get this going, we want to have it happen, I guess we're going to have to accept the fact that we're not going to be there watching the games, or it just isn't going to happen. I'd rather get it going, get it scheduled, and work on getting to the games. You know.
These athletic directors have come up with a plan. They are the ones that are actively involved in event management, risk management for these activities. They deserve, I think, to be supported because they're making a decision. And one of the things that we have seen throughout this whole epidemic is nobody wants to make a decision. Everything changes week to week, day to day. Nobody will sign their name on the dotted line. We struggle with getting any kind of approval process. Now it has become recommendations. Nobody at the state level all the way down will make a decision. RAD said this is how we can manage these events to ensure they can happen, to reach a compromise, to hope that every school board will go along and say, we can make this happen. And we have to work within the guidelines of multiple counties and WIA rules to do it. So we can support either the fact that we are going to support having these 3 sports and leave it at that, or we can support the plan that they came forward on how those sports would have to be managed.
Is there any talks of after maybe a couple of games that they're going to meet again and see if they can open it up to the fans? And
They rather than start with and have to exclude, they'd rather start with, let's get the players, the coaches in the games, and then see where the counties are on being able to add. We know that all of a sudden with all these kids coming back to school in all these schools and everyone regrouping together, that there certainly is the potential that somebody's going to test positive for COVID. You know, to say that wouldn't happen would be ignoring the obvious. So once that happens, even more restrictions will go into play.
I'm not so much worried about our own students because, or students from any school for that matter, because I can get a lot of contact with
We just got to, my opinion is we just got to get this thing passed. These kids, your head's in the sand. If you're worried about them being together, like Kevin said, there's all kinds of contact going on. There's been youth baseball all summer long. There's been kids in AAU basketball. There's been kids riding 5 to a car to Sidey Hollow, it never ends. But
And what community parents and youth do is far different than what a public entity does under the guidance of a state level association and responsible and required to be responsible to recommendations made by county health departments.
And if we don't get these kids going in our programs, they're going to continue going in other programs and going other places and doing other things. And the best thing we can do is keep them under our thumb. You know, if you ask me.
But we'll have more safety protocols in place. But, you know, I think we need to send a message to our kids who are watching and our coaches, are they going to get a chance to play? And, you know, at the very least, we have to decide if we're going to move forward supporting a fall season. And these are the guidelines that the athletic directors came up with. If those are not palatable, then at least we decide if fall sports can happen. Recognizing that then host schools will end up enforcing whatever guidelines their board directs them to enforce.
So did these, you as superintendents, athletic directors, did they work with the health department then in setting up these guidelines?
Well, typically these plans would be set forward to the health department.
Yes or no?
This meeting just happened today. So what they did was take the health department information, which Crawford County has restrictions on mass gatherings indoors and outdoors. Vernon County does not right now.
The answer is yes. They looked at the health guidelines, and that's what they followed when they created the plans. And that's why they're wanting to not have fans there.
Yeah, I was in the meeting this morning with the superintendent of the Ridge and Valley. And it was mostly Crawford County schools that, you know, they were having a hard time quibbling about who could come and who couldn't come to these. And so what they could all agree on in respect to the superintendents was that the bottom line was to get the kids on the field or on the court or in the gym or out running. And they would try a ban situation later because the Crawford County schools have to follow Crawford County guidelines. So this was the best they could do at this point in time, I think, honestly. So, and there were, as somebody said earlier, a number of split school boards. There's one school nearby that probably will not have fall sports. They're talking about moving fall sports to spring. Which eliminates, one of our competitions in volleyball and in football. So we also want to be mindful that, the more teams the more we can agree with these other teams or other schools, the more games we'll have to play. So.
And the guidelines from the WIA for each sport are very extensive. They've got their own doctors. It's going to be done as safely as possibly can be done for these kids.
And moving along, I'll make the motion that we
Support the advancement of fall sports season.
I would like to add amendment to that. If any changes whatsoever, as far as the health department, that the school board be advised and we address it then too. Further.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about 2 weeks later.
Well, how many health departments do you want to hear from?
Well, like you say, we're planning, way it looks like to me in Crawford County. But we're playing here.
We'll have Grant County schools that are involved in cross country as well. I mean, if a school can't come, they can't come.
I just want to be notified.
It's going to be difficult at all to have any kind of normalcy in the season. Because if you got somebody that is playing, and all of a sudden in football, what do you do? Play 7 conference games?
You don't play them.
You're down by 20% almost.
And that is very likely to happen. The big message is to be flexible. It's very likely. I mean, it could very easily happen that a football team sits out 2 weeks of the season. And that's unfortunate, but it's the opportunity. The idea is to give these kids all the opportunity you can give them as safely as you can give it. So Gary's going to second Kevin's motion, and we will keep you abreast of health department.
I will try to find out when they release that information because some do it on Wednesdays, some, who knows when they do it. So I will definitely find out what that is so that we can keep you apprised.
So we've got a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're to reports.
Okay.
Oh, we had one more thing, Jeff.
I just
It
didn't know if
wasn't
you wanted
on, it
to,
wasn't on the agenda
touch on that.
item, this food service.
is that just for
Oh,
us?
that would be under a report.
That'll be under
Okay,
Lindsay's
all right.
report.
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
she wanted to touch on that.
Mr. Ferget, are you willing to lead us off tonight?
Muted.
Yep.
If you're speaking, we can't hear ya.
There we go.
There you
Dang it, I thought I had this all worked out. Sorry, last week, August 10th, Monday, August 10th, we had the 8th grade promotion, or we celebrated the achievements of our 8th grade students, and it went extremely well. We had good participation, and certainly they were a very happy bunch of kids to come into school and get their promotion to high school. Just like to thank Guy and Jackie and the whole maintenance team for all the hard work. A couple of weeks ago, we went through room by room to try to maximize floor space, eliminate any non-essential furniture to make sure we can get as many students into our classroom safely. And they're doing a tremendous job of that. They're building the plexiglass barriers to help provide more insulation against, or more mitigation against the spread of COVID. And just to ensure a safe environment for all of our students, and clean, very clean as well. Let's see. Otherwise, we're just really trying to get ready for the start of the school year, working with students and parents to make sure they understand their choice as far as remote learning and in-person school and how that differs from virtual learning. And make sure that they understand and are comfortable with the choice that they're making. So let's see. And then just working with individual students and parents on, scheduling their classes, make sure they're happy with the classes they have for the upcoming school year. And, I'm just really excited about starting the school year at this point. So, as you can tell from my inability to activate my microphone, I'd much rather teach in person than virtually. So thanks.
Thank you. Betsy, I know you've got some young children at home, so maybe we can help you out by having you do your food service reopening plan and anything else you would like to add from food service from the summer.
All right, so I just kind of want to go over our plan as far as how it's going to operate when the kids return to school. When the kids come through the line, they will be coming through by classroom. The classes will be staggered to maintain, the contact between, staggered to minimize contact in the hallways. We will have complete meals in to-go containers for the kids. Students will not be serving themselves. The eating areas will be classrooms, commons, gym, or any other designated area that is figured out by then. The food choices will be similar. However, some of the options may be reduced, and the menu may change from time to time depending on our ability to get food from our suppliers. And then we will also have a barcode scanner that will be implemented, and that will eliminate the need for the students to use the keypad to type in their numbers. And then as far as the remote choice or the virtual charter school students, they will have the option to pick up their meals if they choose at each school at the designated times that we come up with. And they will be receiving 2 to 3 days of meals per pickup. So, and that's kind of up in the air yet, but that's what we hope to do at this time as far as food service goes. And then also one other thing to report, we have a new dishwasher being installed at DeSoto tomorrow. Reinhardt will be delivering that, and Grant Schultz will be doing the plumbing, and Pat Bastide will be doing the electrical. So that's basically all I have to report right now. Any questions about the reopening plan at all, the food service?
Sounds good, Betsy. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Betsy.
thank you.
Please feel free to disconnect so you can take care of your family.
All right, thanks, Lindsay.
Mr. Fulsing, I know you've got young ones at home too, so would you care to go?
She's not on.
Oh, that's true, I'm sorry, Mr. Olson.
Sure.
Mr. Fulsing did provide some information, so I don't know if you have it and you can go through it as well.
Yes, I do. I'll incorporate that
Thank
into
you.
my report here. So both Derek and I were very excited to have the kids back in the building. It was great to see them again. Some of them sure did grow in the last 5 months since the last time we've seen them. We thought our safety protocols overall went very, very well. We had to make some minor tweaks to just a handful of protocols, but overall very satisfied. The kids did a great job wearing the masks. Almost an unbelievable job wearing the masks. It seemed like an easier transition for them than it was for the adults, including myself. And by the end of our 2-week jumpstart session, it was almost like, that was our new normal. You showed up with a mask, you didn't take it off, you went outside, and it was really easier transition than I thought after a couple of weeks. Our attendance was down about 25% from pre-K through middle school, but overall, I'm somewhat happy with the attendance considering the situation. I'll speak on behalf of Derek as well for your approving Mr. Gaylor tonight. He goes above and beyond to provide for our students, and he's very student focused, and it's great to see him in our building once a week this year. Derek and I are finalizing schedules, and should be done here by the end of the week, and then make modifications next week when staff comes back and tells us what we forgot about. And we're continuing to contact the families that didn't complete the survey. And Derek did say that the Stoddard streets should be done by the time school starts. I believe about half of the main street, or maybe even 2/3 of Main Street, is done now, and they're going to finish that up hopefully by September 1. Derek feels good that surround care is going to continue. He's looking for one more person in the afternoon and hoping to limit the teacher to student ratio to 10-1. Diane Nicolati is our lead, and we're starting to work on how they can use the gym as potentially their new surround care room. I'll touch on transportation. As the surveys rolled in, we're continuing to build lists, bus lists. It does work pretty well. Charlie figured out how to incorporate one of our daily routes in the Stoddard area into a shuttle. So we'll have 3 buses that'll pick up students, middle school and high school students at Stoddard Elementary, and bring them down to the high school. He did speak with someone on the construction crew for Highway 35. It sounds like we will be able to use Highway 35 from Sylvan Glen Road to Genoa. So that'll help us get those kids to school hopefully on time from Stoddard, especially on that 3rd shuttle bus. We were able to hire one more driver, Wayne Jacobson, as most of you know. He did drive for us in the past. He became certified a couple weeks ago. Charlie helped him with that. So he will be taking over one of the routes. And we do have one other driver that has rotator cuff surgery. Will be out the first 3 months, unfortunately. But we do have that covered as of as of right now. So sitting okay as far as drivers go, but not great. The route that Wayne Jacobson took was due to one of our drivers in the Genoa area. He took a full-time job. But overall, things are looking up, and we're looking forward to seeing the students back here. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Let's see, Mr. Boardman, Guy, do you have anything else you need to share with us on buildings and grounds?
Yeah, I'll just go through quick what's been happening since our last board meeting. On August 6th, one of the rooftop units that was on our long range plan was installed. The LED lighting, they showed up today. Pretty impressive. They got here at noon and they already have, I think, the middle school all the way done in the commons. So just kind of touch on another part of my report. If you get a chance when you guys leave tonight by the middle school commons here, I know there's tape across there, but just reach in, flip the switch, check the lights out, check the floor out. Our custodial staff is doing an amazing job on everything this year. It really looks nice. Besides that, we've been reorganizing classrooms and that, as Mr. Ferget spoke of. Dairyland Power volunteers were here on the 30th to help us with plexiglass barriers. They will be back here again on the 20th. We're going to cook brats in that for them, just show our appreciation for them coming down and helping us out. There will be some tile, some carpet going on here in the district in the next couple months, hopefully. Schneider showed up to start our boiler water upgrade. Betsy touched on the dishwasher getting installed tomorrow. And that's about all I have.
Thank you. Everyone's certainly been working exceedingly hard to get the classrooms ready and work at different physical distancing, placements of desks, as well as placing desks in groups that the plexiglass dividers can be created to help provide an additional barrier. So thank you and your crew, Guy. Mrs. Moline.
Excellent. Yes. Well, since our last school board meeting, we have had one IEP meeting. In addition to that, I've been meeting with new families coming into the school district, either by the phone, over internet, or in person. So that's been an exciting time to see the newest pirates. On August 24th, so next Monday, our 4-year-old kindergarten preschool program and early childhood will be having an in-person open house, with each family having a designated time to go into their respective building. And we have hired additional staff to take them around, do the tours, do an activity, and a meet and greet with the teachers. That way, families aren't necessarily coming into contact with each other for that. Moving along, Mr. Fulsang, Derek Fulsang, and I had a chance to do kindergarten, surround care, and Title I interviews. We were fortunate enough to have some candidates that could overlap, so we combined them. The positive outcome for him is that, yes, you all approved the long-term kindergarten person. The unfortunate part for me is we're still seeking a Title I long-term substitute. So if you know anyone out there or anyone's listening, we will be putting together some alternative plans if we don't find the most highly qualified candidate that's a good fit for our school district. So we're continuing to work on that. In addition, over the last 4 weeks, today we're doing some Department of Justice grant training. Employee handbook we've been doing, Title IX training last Friday with Mr. Ferget and Mrs. Groning, and collaboration with Diane from the Baird in order to help us and for me to help them with their federal grants. And planning forward, she's offered a great deal of assistance and new ideas for our federal grants and closing out last school years. Some more information in regards to COVID-19. Definitely some changes within the department and buildings, as you know. I've been working with staff on ordering new things that are needed. It's not just a typical supply year. They've asked for, my staff in particular, have asked for a revision in their supplies for those wonderful plexiglass barriers or sneeze guards, and making sure that the classrooms are set up to maximize space, while best meeting students' needs, because academics are definitely, we want to make sure we're continuing that in addition to those safety protocols. In addition, with COVID-19, not only have we had our normal scheduling to take care of, we've had a lot of complex schedules to accommodate, whether it's remote or virtual, and those are also requiring students who have an IEP to have scheduled IEP changes and meetings. So I've been visiting with families over the last couple of weeks over the phone, and I'm continuing to do that moving into this next week to make sure everything is the best that's going to meet each of their own children's needs. I'd like to give a shout out to Mrs. Witeski, who probably stayed up till 3 o'clock this morning with me, working on student schedules to confirm what meets their IEP, as well as graduation requirements, and then what works into schedules. So again, thank you to her to assisting me in that process, because it was quite the undertaking. And last but not least, I'd like to provide a little update on independent living skills. Independent living skills has been a class that originally was offered out to only students who have an IEP. And over the last several years, the board has changed it to being offering for all students in the district, working on those essential skills to be college and career ready and to be ready to go out on their own. Unfortunately, this year it didn't make the course offerings right away. And as we reflected on that, we still need that offering for our students, in particular students who are going to be going out into the world as things look different with COVID and safety precautions and all the reading they have to do and advocating. But with all that being said, we do want that offer, but we'd like to offer that same course but have it coded differently. Mr. Redmond was the previous teacher, and it was coded under a health, and we'd like to move that to a reading offering with the same types of goals and a lot more reading included in that. So this is part of the students' transitions plans as they, like I said, get college and career ready for college and career preparations, and their transition plans are part of their IEP. So that's actually included in there. So I would be just wanting to make sure the board is aware of that change, and we're looking forward to moving that to a new requirement. Any questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Moline. Certainly, the workday never ends when you're still up at 3 a.m. doing student schedules, and so I appreciate your work on that, as well as Ashley. Thank you. I owe you guys some coffee or some no-dos, one of the two. Mr. Grunning, do you have anything on technology that you would like to share, including some recent purchases?
The TV, isn't that?
As they know, we covered all of our students grades 3 through 12 with Chromebooks. Last week, we had an opportunity to pick up some smaller 11.6 Chromebooks. And right now on Amazon, 11.6 Chromebooks are $244 a piece. They're normally $179 a piece. We picked up 150 of them from Walmart for $99 a piece.
Wow.
We had another area school district back out on an order, and we called them, and they were good enough to cut us actually a better deal than they had offered the other school district. So we picked up 150. Now, DeSoto, it has a Chromebook for every single student, 3K through 12. 100%, with a few left over. So for $99, we did think maybe we should just go out and sell them and double our money.
I'll take one.
I know. We kind of stretched the budget a little bit by ordering 150, but we could have picked up 200. They'd ordered 300, and she had a little over 200 left when I called her.
Wow.
So
how'd you hear about that?
Scott Kelly had a parent call that worked at the Southside Walmart and had heard of the deal that had fallen through, and they were a little bit upset. So I just called up there and said, hey, we're looking for some 11.6 Chromebooks. Might you have any? So the store manager goes, how many do you need? And I said, well, maybe 75. Well, she said, well, I've got over 200 and some. So we quick discussed, what we dare afford. And I called her right back and said, we'll take 150 of them. So
Cool.
what is unique though is Walmart is, you can only purchase 3 at a time. So we had to have 50 receipts. So we sat up there and they pre-scanned them all in for us. They were just wonderful people up there. They were excited. They took our picture, because they were so pleased to help out a school district with these. But yeah, for $99. Normally, and the other school district had an opportunity to pick up some 15.6 Chromebooks. That's the larger size that we have for all of our other students. But for small students in the lower elementary, this is a smaller layout, so their fingers are smaller, and we're thinking they look pretty good.
I think they're perfect for me.
They're perfect, and I'm thinking some of the older kids might even use them too, if they need to. So we've got to code them all in and get them ready to be checked out, but we'll be ready for school to start. So that was my biggest deal for since we talked last.
We did share it with Mr. Pedretti so that he has budgeting authority too. And, we wanted to make sure that he was aware that we had this opportunity and we needed to move on it.
Well,
You couldn't wait for 2 weeks.
Well, not only that, I've been averaging for the 15.6s $169 a piece. And I can only order 5 at a time. And they're factory refurbished, they're mint condition, but 5 at a time at 169, and we've got 150 at 99. What do? You just jump on it. So Hunter and I drove up there and stood at the counter and voted 150 at, 3 at a time.
Within building budgeting authority, each principal could have budgeted for a portion and
Oh, yeah,
Mrs.
right.
Moline could have, so it's, we just want to be upfront with everyone. It exceeded my authority to approve a $5,000, that's all I can go to, but Mr. Fulson could approve, Mr. Kelly Olson could approve, Mr. Fergie could approve, Mr. Pedretti could approve, Mrs. Moline, Mr. Grunning, and me. We got it covered.
I'll take it. If you don't want them, I'll take them all.
Yeah,
I want to.
So,
yeah, we can turn around right now and sell them. Well, Amazon, that exact model, right now I can buy them for $244 a piece, limit 5 at a time.
So I just appreciate that Dwayne constantly is researching the different prices, getting the best deals when he possibly can, that we had an opportunity to make a purchase that we knew we needed, and instead of having to piecemeal it at 3 to 5
I should also show you,
devices, we were
since
able
we're
to get
talking
them built.
technology.
Don't forget the
Yeah, I should show you this. This is how we're gonna do the remote learning for the classrooms. So we're gonna have a webcam on a tripod that the teachers will then aim at themselves while they're instructing. So basically, they'll do a Google Meet, which is very similar to the StreamYard that you're used to seeing when you guys are working in here. So the teacher will present and the students will be able to listen to them. We did research. We brought in about 12 different webcams. Picture quality on all webcams are about exactly the same. It's the microphone that's the big difference. And these Logitechs are an amazing microphone. I can be in the back of the library and it's almost like I'm standing right here. But we're afraid with the students in the classrooms, there might be too much competition. So I went and grabbed some little USB Bluetooth adapters for our desktop computers. And I grabbed some earplug like you do for smartphones. And what you see people walking around with talking in them, it works perfectly. So if we have too much competition for the audio, I'll just have them have Bluetooth. So we ordered 6 of those and 3 of them that are headsets that go over with a boom mic, and then 3 that stick in your ear. And they work perfectly.
So the teacher will wear it.
So the teacher would wear that, so they would be talking directly to the students that are remoting in while they're still talking to their classroom simultaneously. And then if the students have questions, they would hear it right from their ear from the kids that are on remote. So we think we've got everything covered to make this happen if we have to go more and more remote. So, yeah, I think that's going to work just fine for us. So,
Sounds good.
that's what I had.
Mr.
Good deal.
I just have a
Mr. Wallace.
question. What percentage of the kids are gonna be remote as of right now?
Currently, only 14.
14 students out of 500.
Yeah, and 14 students out of 500.
It does change daily. Our worst case scenario, we were at 88% return. And then that has been fluctuating daily, and we're seeing more, schedules went out that said your students coming back on September 1st at the elementary, or you're coming back on September 2nd, then everyone's from then on forward. Preschool starts the September 8th. Middle school, high school got their schedules. You're either in the DeSoto group or you're in the Pirates group. You come for the first 2 days, then you have the other 2 days off. You come from the 3rd and the 4th, and you have the first 2 days off. So we are going to integrate the students back into our procedures, our guidelines, and work through any of the issues. And
our goal is to be prepared for any of the scenarios. And with the beauty of a smaller school district, we feel like we can pretty much pivot on a dime. I understand lacrosse and those making a decision way in advance and looking at everything. They're too big, we can't. The other thing is some of these school districts that are doing 2 days on, then Wednesday for deep cleaning, and then 2 days on for the other, and home 3 and stuff. Well, yeah, because some of their buildings have so many kids, they're gonna cut them down to what we normally have anyway. So they cut their class sizes down in half to equal what we already have in the classrooms. So we think we're fine that way. But.
And the other thing we're doing is we're doing the full clean every day.
Right.
Every day, at the end of the day, every classroom and the hallways and rooms like this will get the full treatment with the CDC, EPA approved hospital grade disinfectant. You can't get any cleaner than that. We're going to do it daily. So
I think that's just a way to.
And Guy can certainly address that if you want, because, all the schools are pretty much using the same type of chemicals, the same type of cleaning process. And, either they have more facilities or fewer staff. We're doing it every day. So we are ready the next day for our kids to come in safe as possible environment that we can do.
But anyway, that's not technology. But for the technology, we don't have that many kids that are going to be remote, but if they are, we're ready for them. Unless they shut us down and then we all go remote, we're ready for that too.
And how did paper registration go?
Jackie is working on that as we speak. I think she wants to do an all-nighter like Mrs. Moline. The paper stuff started coming back on the 10th. We know that we're going to have to call some people and track some people down, and we'll be glad to do that. But she is opening up envelopes tonight. Okay, well then that leaves me, I have a few items, and then I'm going to do a quick walkthrough on the updates. Middle school, high school schedule, unique to that schedule this year, and Mr. Fergus, if he's still there, is welcome to jump back in. But we will start the day with a homeroom period. That will allow students to pick up their Chromebooks or laptops that have been charging overnight. We will also end the day with a homeroom, but to facilitate transportation's arrival and as well as exiting, those students who have driver's license and are driving their own vehicle will be dismissed at 3:20 out of homeroom. So they will go to homeroom after their last class. The attendance will be taken. They'll plug in their Chromebook or their laptop. If they aren't staying for sports or any after-school activities or tutoring, they will be eligible to leave at 3:20. If they have siblings, they will be allowed to go at the same time with them. That will clear out a good portion of our high school, which will make it a lot more functional to move the remaining students through the building and onto the buses for transportation at the end of the day. And it allows those laptops and Chromebooks to charge overnight. We have district in-service coming up. Monday, August 24th is for new staff. August 25th through the 27th will be for our district meeting will be on the 25th, involving all district employees. We go through policies, procedures, guidelines, the requirements that we have to touch bases on, do some recognition and appreciation for years of service, introduce our new staff. We'll be doing all this virtually. Then with people in the buildings though, either in their classrooms or in computer labs where they can access computers, or spaced out like we are in this area as well. We have DPI training, trauma-informed adverse childhood experience training that we'll be going through, some mental health first aid review, which is different than the adolescent mental health that there are 7 of us going through right now. That's Andrea, Jen Jekyll, Allison Wolfney, Amy Roble, Derek Fulsang, Karen Moline, and myself, who are taking the 2-day webinar right now, and that is a requirement of the Department of Justice school safety grants. We have to ensure that 10% of our staff go through that training, and we have met that objective yesterday and today. We were originally going to be the host site for the training, but it switched to a webinar for the 50 people involved due to COVID-19. So let's see, anything else? Karen mentioned the Title IX training that Tim, she and I did. It was sponsored by our school district attorneys. They did that for all their clients, so it was a statewide training that we undertook on last Friday. I'm going to walk you quickly through the changes on our reopening plan information. As you can see, we actually presented the draft plan in June to the school board. Then last month, we did our virtual town hall meetings, both for our staff on the 28th, as well as for parents and community members. It was well attended. I think overall we had over 200 views. If they weren't there that day, they went back to rewatch it. On August 10th, we offered another one in the afternoon. Again, we're doing a modified review tonight, and we will have a full review of the reopening plan on August 27th at 7 p.m. through another virtual town hall meeting. So, whoops. These are the updates that have occurred since the plan was first shared out. 4K information has been mailed out the week of August 10th. Mrs. Lee mentioned the open house. You know that mailings have gone out for registration, and middle school, high school classes schedules became available on Power School Today to our students. And school photos, that's always an important date. So just a reminder to families, that'll be September 16th and Thursday, October 22nd. You know about the governor's order, so I won't belabor that. The Cooley Compass guidance, which many school districts decided to align to. If it was severe risk, they were going to close. If it was very high risk, they were going to have some modifications. When that went away, they had aligned their whole plan to that. And that certainly has been disruptive to some school districts. We are still waiting for the Department of Health Services to continue to provide a new decision-making framework for us. DPI regulatory flexibility, we're getting information on that. There is instructional minutes defined as how we can assess what those are for both our virtual learners as well as our in-school learners. And there are waivers that will be in place if we can't potentially meet that, but you will have to justify what you're doing to attempt to meet that. Surround care updates, Mr. Fulsang shared those with you, that he's still looking for one additional person. Those are the hours of operation, and it is a first come, first served basis. Our commitments, safety, health, and well-being is the most predominant factor that drives all of our research, our information, and our decision-making on the instructional models, which offers flexibilities to families to choose at their comfort level how they want their children educated. Equity is an important factor. Mrs. Moline is always on top of that as our pupil services director, as well as our special ed director, to ensure that all of our students have the education and services that are needed. And the social emotional well-being is a critical factor. We've touched on that with the need for sports activities and programs that extend the day for our students and allow those social interactions that they've missed for the past 5-6 months. But we also recognize that we need to spend time to ensure that students who come back into this environment or who are learning virtually do so with respect, responsibility, and in a safe manner to their peers and to everyone. We will continue to promote our district vision and provide our families with resources. So we encourage families to let us know, what do you need? How do we help you? Holistically for your child as well as academically. The 3 models you're aware of, we have offered those from the beginning to our families. So traditional return to the classroom, or remote learn connected to the classroom at the time and days of class instruction, or the option for the virtual charter school that we've operated for over 5 years, educating students from across the state. So we all know what the traditional classroom is. Yep.
Have we had a bump by chance in the virtual charter school enrollment?
You know, I know that we have some students that our internal students have picked that as an option because there is a 20 credit requirement to be able to move on into life. And so we do have some of our own students that are doing that. And I know he's been picking up interest and responding, but I don't have a total number. Mr. Grinding, have you heard any more on that?
We've picked up some, but I don't know the exact count.
So, you know, the one thing that we can offer with our program is that we are experienced. We know how to meet the needs of students. We know how to help parents pick out the curriculum that they want for their children to experience or have. And that is a distinct advantage for families in the area who are uncertain as to what other districts are able to offer, because it's new for those districts to consider coming to us. The remote choice learning, again, is a real commitment for families. If they're going to have their children at home remoting in, they need to make sure that their sons and daughters are up on with their Chromebook or laptop at the time that their class is in session. Teachers will be taking attendance, they will be noting tardies, and they will be noting absences. And unless there's a medical reason for being absent, we expect the students to be in class, or they'll be considered truant. So all of our programs are starting September 1. And virtual students, charter school will get their instructions from Mr. Kelly, and those who are remote learning will be joining us on the 3rd and the 4th at the middle school, high school, as well as at the elementary schools. So you're familiar with this. Stoddard and Prairie View, they have divided their students in half as well. So half will be coming back on September 1, the other half on September 2. That's K through 5, and then everyone will be in school on the 3rd and 4th, and pre-K starts on September 8th. Again, we took care of those recognitions. Middle high school, we have divided them, as I mentioned earlier, into DeSoto and Pirates, half coming on the 1st and 2nd, half on the 3rd and 4th, and everyone after Labor Day back in school on the 6th through around the 8th of September. Physical spaces, we have addressed these. You can see these pictures have been newly added. Those were the pictures of the plexiglass dividers that were created by Darylyn Power. This one isn't plexiglass. This is with shower curtains and PVC pipes, which came off of a Facebook posting. Those physical barriers, we will have as many as possible in place when we can't maintain that physical separation of 6 feet. Our school buildings were not designed to be able to socially separate kids. School buildings were designed for interaction between students and between teachers and peers. Whenever feasible, we will maintain that 6-foot separation like we are doing here. But we are being very honest with our families to say that we will not be able to facilitate that in every classroom on every given day. So we will move to larger spaces when they're open. We will keep our cohorts together so that they learn together and are together, and we will keep them as much as possible separate from other grade levels or other classes. But we're being very honest. If you're sending your children back to school, understand that there are limitations to our facilities. We're doing a lot to make sure that we can have as healthy environment as possible with the ventilation. Hospital ventilation, unless you're in an operating room, a C-section room, is actually less than what we have here. Guy says that we have a study that shows we are bringing in 15% of fresh air from the outside on a continual basis, and our HVAC systems are running continually. The cleaning and disinfecting I talked about earlier, we're minimizing shared objects, and when we do have them, there will be disinfected and cleaning. We have an isolation room where students will go if they happen to be ill. We are having hand hygiene stations in classrooms as well as in common areas and on our buses when you get on our bus. And we are going to use our common areas by staggering use of those areas and then using them when we need larger class spaces. Visitors will be limited to the building for essential visitors only. And families will be asked as we start the school year to drop their children off at the door to be met by staff and brought into the buildings. So face coverings right now, you know, the governor's order is in place at least through the month of September. We will maintain that requirement for face coverings indoors because of that physical distancing factor that we can't ensure we can maintain with 100% fidelity all of the time. Field trips and gatherings are certainly going to be limited, so we've talked about that in the past. Our COVID points of contact are obviously building administrators, myself, and our school nurse. Our communication systems, we will be include school messengers. So again, I remind parents to please go into that system and get all the updates made of your address, your phone number, your cell phone number, and your preferred method of contact, which is either through having voice messages, text messages, or emails, or all of the above. We will also continue to update on our district website on our COVID and school updates page, use local TV and radio for any school closures, whether there be weather associated because of snow or for COVID reasons. We're looking at virtual parent-teacher conferences. Those can be set up. And the nice thing about that is there won't be a wait. If you're scheduled to be at a certain time, we'll be able to accommodate that as well. And school nutrition, Betsy spoke about. So all the things she went over, I won't bother to review here. Mr. Olson spoke about transportation. Again, face coverings will be required. Southwest Transportation has purchased a disinfectant sprayer, so the buses will be sprayed after each morning and afternoon run. And let's see, self-transportation, if parents are planning to transport their children, we'd appreciate knowing that. We do have information from the survey, but if anyone's changed their mind, please let us know so that we know how to best make up the seating charts for the buses, as well as maybe have an additional bus on a route if needed. We certainly recognize that social emotional health has been in the news lately for our kids, and that this has been an unusual experience that has certainly been negatively impacted kids. To be away from their peers, to be away from other adult mentors is certainly something that is not what we would hope for their educational experience. So we certainly welcome everyone back, and we recognize that the support systems that we need to put in place to help rebuild those relationships are going to be truly crucial. Symptom screening at home. This is a partnership with parents. Parents are the first line of defense. Parents must check with their children before they go to school to make sure that they feel healthy enough to come to school and that they don't have a temperature. If students arrive and they are not feeling very well, we will certainly go through our normal processes of, taking care of them and assessing symptoms that they may have, and if there's any underlying causes for those symptoms. But it is absolutely crucial that we are in a partnership to ensure the safety and well-being of not only our children, but everyone's children, and we must do that at home on a daily basis before our kids come to school. Staff are also expected to assess their own physical health, take their own temperatures before they come to work as well. This is one of the things that has caused a lot of consternation, is because information to us is changing and changing weekly. So I put the data on here that this flow chart on what schools should do and parents should do if a child presents with symptoms was given to us on July 28th. And basically it said that, if you had symptoms, you would be sent home, and if it was positive, these are the things that would have to happen. If you had symptoms, but they were underlying because you may have allergies, or you may have a cold, or you may have something else, you might not even go home. No exclusion required. There was also a 3-day. If no testing was done, there was a 3-day, and if you are at home 3 days symptom-free without the use of medication, you could come back to school. 1 week later, it changed. We got this chart. A little more complicated, but some things changed in that chart. All of a sudden, the 72 days went away, and we were down to 24 hours. If you're symptom-free and you don't need any medication, you can come back within 24 hours. And so, okay, we're going to work with that. That was August 4th. A week later, we now have a new chart, a new flow chart to guide decisions at school as well as at home. The big difference was this one was, if you sent a child home on the other two charts and they were okay within 72 hours or 24 hours, they could come back to school if parents chose not to give a COVID test. The new chart says, was a COVID test done? If no, they have to stay home. They have to stay home. And we're talking for 10 days. So if a parent elects not to give a child a COVID test, that child needs to remain home for 10 days. And in addition to that, their siblings may not have any symptoms at school, so they can stay at school that day, but after they get home, they have to remain home for 10 days. Now, first of all, these tests are expensive. Secondly, if you go to a healthcare provider and you don't have a lot of symptoms, they may deny you the opportunity to take the test. Many people have been turned away. So the challenge is for our parents and for all of us in education is that the directions we get, the recommendations we get change, and they change week by week. I don't know what this will be a week from now. Might be the same. It could be more stringent, or it might loosen back up. But this is the current one that Vernon County has as a flow chart guide. Now, this thing here, these symptoms should be outside of the student's baseline. So in essence, if we know a student has some type of a medical condition where any of these symptoms could be a part of that, then we should be able to treat it based on their baseline. We can ask the questions, have you been in close contact? And if the answer is no, recent travel, no, go home for 10 days. The 72 hours symptom-free went away, the 24 hours symptom-free went away, now we're back to 10 days.
Where's it talks about the siblings on there?
Pardon me?
The siblings, is there comments about siblings on there?
Yeah, it's, I don't know if they have it on here, it was just some additional information that was provided to us on the side.
Are we bound by this, or is this recommendation?
This is a recommendation because the county health departments do not want to be in a position to approve or to legislate. They don't have that authority. So the common sense approach is you contact the family and you let the family know the condition of the child. You take a look at the underlying conditions. And if you've got medical conditions where the doctor has said these things are associated with allergies or whatever condition they have, then you can make a decision on, if they're going to stay at school or if they're going to go home. Parents can make a decision on a COVID test or if they're going to take them into the doctor. The challenge for us in education is that it's very hard to operate a school system when the parameters are constantly changing and that are so restrictive that, kids might be home Now, if they're home and they're symptom-free and they're feeling well, we fully hope and expect that they will not be using up their medical excuse days and be online remote learning with their teachers in class. So if we have to send a child home for a headache and a sore throat, and the parent chooses not to get a COVID test, and they choose to isolate their child at home for 10 days, we expect them to be remote learning. Health department process, they receive information from the Wisconsin Electronic Surveillance System that notifies them if there has been a positive test. They will reach out to try to get a hold of that family within 24 to 48 hours. Positive patients will be expected to stay home a minimum of 10 days from the symptom onset and be 24 hours fever-free without the use of medication. Or if they have no symptoms while they're at home, because many children are asymptomatic and present no symptoms, then they stay home for those 10 days from the date that the test was done and showed them to be positive. Vernon County Health Department will be responsible for obtaining names for contact tracing and contacting the individuals who have been contact traced. Up until 3 weeks ago, we assumed that contact tracing was closer than 6 feet without a mask for 15 minutes or longer. We've now been informed that it doesn't matter if you have a mask or not have a mask. If you're closer than 6 feet with or without a mask, for increments that total 15 minutes, you will be contact traced.
You didn't assume it, that was what it was.
That is what it is now.
But we didn't assume it that it was 15 minutes before, it was 15 minutes.
It was 15
They
minutes.
changed what happened.
That added information that it became increments is new. So I'm by a student within 6 feet, wearing a mask for 5 minutes. Then I go work with other students. I come back to that student for another 3 minutes. By the end of the day, 24-hour period, if it adds up to 15 minutes and one of us has it, we are now contact traced.
Prior to that, two people wearing masks, there would be no contact traced. If you were both wearing masks, that's what it was prior to just this order.
So the irony in this is if we're together for 14 minutes, side by side, mask or no mask, that doesn't count. Common sense would say it would. But they picked a number, they picked increments, and that's what we're working with. So the county nurse will contact schools to discuss any potential additional contacts that need to be made. So again, if you test positive, you have to remain fever-free for 3 days without fever-reducing medications, stay home for 10 days, past the symptom onset or past the date of the positive test. If you're a contact trace, you will remain home for 14 days, regardless of whether you have COVID-19 symptoms or not. And that's because this virus can take up to 14 days to enter your system and to adversely impact you or to be able to be tested positive. You might be asymptomatic after 14 days, but still test positive on that last day. You're contagious 2 days before your first symptoms, you're contagious the day of your symptom, and you're contagious 2 days after. So there's a 5-day period in which you're contagious. However, we're going to keep you out 10 or 14 days. So suspect or confirmed notification within our district. This is what it will look like. We will send out to parents. The Vernon County Department will personally notify students, their families, or anyone who's been contact traced. The district will notify that if we have a case within the district, we will notify our parents we have a case within our district. You will be notified by the Vernon County if your child is impacted. You will be notified if your school is impacted or if your class is impacted. But we will notify everyone in our district if we do have a case. If you hear nothing else, then it isn't you, it isn't your child, it isn't your child's classes or your child's school building. We will continue to work with the Vernon County Health Department on what the best practices are at that particular point in time. And it's not an easy job for those nurses. They have been absolutely amazing and supportive because they're adjusting to the constant changing as well. And then they have to be the messenger back to all of us. We will continue to promote wearing face masks, hand sanitizing, physical distancing, minimizing cohort contact. We will continue to do that daily application of cleaning, CDC, EPA, and hospital-grade disinfectants so that our buildings are sanitized and ready for school the next day. If there's a classroom incident, we will do the exact same thing, but we will notify all the parents that have the student, their child may have been exposed or not exposed, will come from Vernon County Health Department, but we will notify parents that in that particular classroom, there was either a suspect or a confirmed case. A suspect case means that an individual is getting a COVID test because they came in contact with someone who was a confirmed. Again, school communication, we will do our best to keep everyone informed so that they can assess the condition of the environment, the schools, and make that determination if they want their child to continue coming to school the next day. We won't ever take that away from the parents. Here's the information. As soon as we can get it, we will get it out to people. Understanding fully that it's the county health department to get in contact with the individual who may have tested positive or who has been contact traced.
Now, how about Prairie View? That's considered Crawford County, right? That's at Vernon.
All of our school buildings are located in Vernon, though we have some residents who live in Crawford County.
Our football field would be in Crawford County.
No.
No,
Top of the hill.
you gotta get down to Pronto. Okay, if anyone has been diagnosed, they are isolating for 10 days since the symptoms began, or 10 days from the positive test, and they have to be 1 day free without use of medication. Risk assessment tool, this is just a review. We've gone through numerous processes in developing our plan. Our reopening plan and all the procedures have been vetted. They have been vetted by our physician, Dr. Prairie. They've been vetted by the Vernon County Health Department, who has read with all the details we have in our plan. They've been vetted by the Vernon County Sheriff's Department, and they have been vetted by our insurance company risk analysis agent. This is important to share out. It's not something we came up with on a whim and decided to throw together. This has been a process of taking the best information, building a plan, and then putting it through a review process. Our instructional model shift, that would occur if we had to, as Mr. Grunning mentioned earlier, move from classroom instruction back to remote learning. That would come in place if we have inclement weather and had to close school for the day. Hey, learn from home and teach from home. There'll be no more snow days. But it would also happen if we had to shut down a classroom, a school building, or the district. We look at different risk factors, and even in severe risk factor, we hope that we are able to still offer school in our buildings for those students who want to be in our buildings. There would just be more policies and guidelines in place to govern how we moved about the building and what we did on that particular day. Nothing new here either. Again, our reopening plan looks at health and wellness protocols, how we train staff and students, how we have shaped our learning environments, academic instructional models, the handbook policy and guidelines review, our communication, transportation, surround care, and food service. Our district plans, these are the ones that we've had in place so far for that have gone through those extensive review processes. So as we build up to the start of the school year, we have had other plans in place that have been reviewed and that have allowed us to govern how we are doing our jobs and working through issues with our students and with our staff. which are good precursors for September 1. We welcome at all time questions, comments, even suggestions. We don't plan to have or pretend to have all the answers. We are continually getting new information, new guidelines, and new recommendations. There are people in our community that have levels of expertise. We are grateful when they share their ideas and thoughts with us. If we can implement it and use it, we definitely will. I just acknowledge the committee, from parent surveys to student surveys, the staff surveys, the teachers and staff who served on the initial planning committee, administration who has given considerable hours, medical advisory starting with Opal Hostert, our district nurse, and the Vernon County, as well as Dr. Prairie. Obviously, everyone in this room who served on different committees and along the way have had different components to our plan based on the committee area that they have. Our team that has been part of our town hall meetings to share out information with our community. And our next town hall meeting is on that date. So I thank you for allowing me the time to give you that review, because the work is not done. The work is ongoing, and we are proud of the plan that we have brought forward for our community and our families, and the choice that they have in the instruction model for their children.
So if there weren't a mask mandate right now, in terms of contact tracing, a mask plays no role.
In terms of contact tracing, a mask plays no role. It's
Crazy.
closer than 6 feet for that cumulative period of up to 15 minutes is the key.
Obviously, you don't know the answer to it, but it's crazy that they have a different standard than they do for medical personnel who are treating people.
I will say that Opal, our school nurse, has also joined us. So if people have specific questions for her, I know we haven't taken time to call on her specifically, but I do want to recognize that she's here too.
I am so sorry, Opal. I apologize. You should have just jumped right in and said, hey, those are my slides. I apologize, Opal. You do that so much better than me, and here you sat here for 3 hours waiting for your time to speak, and I did it. I am so sorry.
Don't worry about it. You did great. You said everything I would have said.
Well, I appreciate that, and I can't thank you enough for your involvement in all the processes. So please, if you have any questions for Opal, this would be a great opportunity to ask.
I think we're good. Thank you. Thanks for all your work, Opal.
Mrs. Moline, you should have just interrupted me.
Opal and I were texting, so we know that she was good with it.
Okay.
You did great.
Thank you.
No, you guys did a lot of work. Did very well. My compliments.
So like the Chromebook thing, will they, you said if we have a snow day, we'll just virtually, but will that be here or at home?
Well, they'll learn from home on a snow day, obviously, because we wouldn't be picking them up to bus them in.
So are they gonna have
How do
that?
they get their Chromebook? Well, most cases, we know of a up and coming snowstorm. It's not something that normally just happens. We feel it coming. Kids can sense it with radar that is better than the weatherman's. They often know beforehand, school's gonna be out, isn't it? We will encourage students to take their Chromebooks or laptops home if we are anticipating a snowstorm. If we send a student home ill, we will have them take their laptop or Chromebook home with them.
I was just thinking, obviously you have a pop snowstorm, everybody's stuff is here.
If something happens and they all go home Friday and then the weather really comes in bad and the storm shifts on Sunday, then we still may have a snow day. But if we have enough advance warning to make sure kids take their stuff home, we won't be able to have one. We'll be able to keep on learning. And we will have a modified schedule on those days, so classes will be in the morning for middle school, high school, and in the afternoon, then teachers will be able to do follow-up with kids who overslept, missed their class, didn't get their homework in, or need some tutoring. So, well, thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's patience and support of our efforts, and we do anticipate there'll probably be, a COVID positive test. And with the contact tracing and the cleaning protocols, we hope the majority of students will elect to come back to school the next day. There is some correspondence, Mr. Pedretti, that was in the board packet. So I would say that board members are welcome to take a look at that. And then it would be items for next month.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on correspondence or have any items for 2020 board meeting? August and September? If not, then I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Kevin. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all.